Good night and welcome to Mindful Live. Mindful Live 452. Are we? 452? Yes. Welcome, people. Thank you for joining in. It's a pleasure to be here. I am your host, co-host on certain nights, Nathan Springer. Thank you. It is presently the 9th of January in the year of our Lord 2025 in the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, where they say God has a residence personally here. I wonder which place he might live. If I think if God indeed is a Trini, his home would have to be in Central. Where else in Trini would he dwell but Central? But at the same time, while they say God has a residence here, they also say that here isn't a real place. So is it that we have some atheists saying these things, that we aren't a real place but God lives here? Nah. Penal, nah, man. You can't put God behind God back. How you'll put God behind God back? That's not fair to God. God cannot go behind God's back. That's an impossibility. So he has to be at the center. Jesus at the center of it all. There's a gospel song that reveals it. He's at the center of it all. Let's jump into some news. Uma says, I'm not motivated to vote. I need some motivation. Who's going to give you that motivation? Someone asked if I believe UNC would win with the bacchanal that seems to be brewing inside of the PNM. Well, a couple things on that. One, I guess it depends on how big the bacchanal brews in the PNM. If the PNM is able, as they often are, to control their inner workings and keep everything on the low, welcome, that's Cuba. And keep everything on the low. If they are able to do that, then the bacchanal may not actually bubble over as much. And it seems like many people are hoping and wishing that it does bubble over. And if it does, well, yeah, that might be a bit of difficulty. But I don't think that Mrs. Prasad Bisesa is going to beat Mr. Young. I don't even think so. I don't. I keep asking myself, are there any people out there who would have voted for Dr. Rowley in 2020 and over the last 5 years changed their vote to Mrs. Prasad Bisesa? Remember, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa is the same person who challenged Dr. Rowley in 2015 and 2020, and people thought that she was not the better option. UNC formed a coalition with whom? With whomst? Who has the UNC formed a coalition with? The PEP? You mean all the people who are always UNC anyway? Like, PEP brings no votes to the UNC. Not a one. Well, maybe one. Like, that's not an alliance that helps. At least Double G. If you align yourself with the NTA and Double G, which they seem clearly not to be doing, at least you have a personality, someone with name recognition, someone with some support base, someone with at least a group in the country who believes that they did something good. You know, there's a group of people in the country, not insignificant, who believe that Double G was the best commissioner of the last decade or so. That's not an insignificant number of people. So I think he would bring in something positive. But which group of people in the country does the current alliance attract that the UNC wouldn't have garnered anyway? I don't see which group that is. The problem there is the same leader. It's the same person that people didn't want for the last 10 years. A decade of losing. And I don't mean this as a personal insult on Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. But 10 years of losing is a signal about something. The people don't want you. And I don't think that Stuart Young changes that calculation a great deal. Like, I don't think there are people who would have voted for Dr. Rowley, and with the switch over they decide, you know what? Nah boy, I'll go and vote for Mrs. Prasad Bisesa instead. I don't see any of them. Are there any people who would have voted for Dr. Rowley that with Mr. Young would decide they're not going to vote at all? Maybe, but how many? Are there any people, let's not spam the chat Unruly King, you will be blocked or muted. Are there any people who would have not voted for the UNC? They would have voted not at all. No vote. They would not have voted if Dr. Rowley was running. But now that Stuart Young is running, they decide, now I'm going to vote for Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. How many people are there like that? How many people are there that change their consideration of voting because of this move? I don't think there are any. Let me not say any. I don't think there are many like that. Ever thought about rigged election? Yes, I've thought about it. Rigging an election, as in the full cheating kind of rigging of an election, isn't an extremely easy thing to do, you know. Our elections have a lot of in-person fail-safes. If you've worked for election, if you've worked during an election, you'd understand, like, yes, there are mistakes that could be made. Yes, not saying that people can't cheat and all of that, and yeah, but mass rigging of an election, that's not you're quicker, you're better luck trying like Abu Bakr and try to do a coup. That's you'd get through more. You'd get through more. So not that there isn't rigging of the election, but that level, and generally speaking, the rigging of elections happens from a different level. From a different level. Voter padding, gerrymandering, changing the size of seats, changing the shape of seats, putting people in certain areas, removing people from certain areas. Thank you, Odelka, much appreciated. But like on the day election rigging, I just don't see it that much. If UNC, Michael Modesto says, if UNC figure out how to put Michaela as the leader is the only path I see for them to win. Yeah, I think so. It's funny how the only bad things I'm seeing about Young is his association to his ex-stepdaughter. I think if there is Michaela inside of the UNC, that is a major different consideration, especially versus a Stuart. Interestingly enough, this is my prediction, that's my belief, I could be wrong, but I think, like, if Michaela took over the UNC and she battled Dr. Rowley, it would have been a more difficult battle than if she took over the UNC and battled Stuart Young. Because at least with the Dr. Rowley battle, if she were the leader of the UNC, you could argue that she is a neophyte. She has no experience in this, and we're going with the trusted, experienced person. But if it's two new people, I think Michaela versus Stuart is a Michaela win, to me. If Mr. Stuart Young is going up for MP or PM, I suppose, I'm going to vote for Mrs. Michaela. And if Dr. Rowley was going up, would you have voted for him instead of Mr. Young? Really? You'd have selected to vote for Dr. Rowley, but you won't vote for Mr. Young, you choose Michaela instead? Unruly, I think you can't handle these things. This isn't your life. This isn't your style of life. Look for another kind of life, sir. This isn't for you. Oh, well, that's what I mean, Sweet Douglas. You may have been somebody that would have voted for Michaela anyway. Mikhail Modesto says, I'm glad to see change. Yeah, change is good. Change is good sometimes. There are occasions when change is good. Sometimes it's not. But as it stands, I think Mr. Young is going to take it if he has to face Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. Like, and I feel sorry in a sense for UNC and for Trinidad by extension, because they're trapped. UNC is trapped. And there are many people in the UNC that know they're trapped and would like to not be trapped, but they are trapped. There isn't much they can do to rid themselves of the current leadership. They can't change that. And the current leadership doesn't seem to be able to win a national election. What's going to happen in 2025 here if Mrs. Prasad Bisesa loses again? Is she going to continue as the head of the UNC into another election? What would it take for the UNC faithful to vote out Mrs. Prasad Bisesa in an internal election? I'm not even talking about voting against UNC in a national election. I'm talking internally here. Choose someone else. Umar says, I think Young is the option the party can have reins on. You know, bro, I understand what you're saying, but I don't even know if that's the only truth in that. Is Mrs. Beckles more independent per se? What proof have we that that's the case? Would Mr. Foster Cummings have been more independent? What proof have we of that? I'm not feeling this election, unfortunately, but happy I get a lot of political news to read. Young ain't ready. He's not ready. Maybe not. But if Young isn't ready, why would you think Michaela is? Taro Boy says, I think she is giving it one last try because another 5 years of her is extreme overkill. But here's the thing. I don't think she's going to lose another internal election, even if she goes up again. I don't think so. So, it's up to her really and truly when she wants to leave. Because she seems to be for life inside of the UNC there. Alright, it's Thursday, people. And what we do on a Thursday in the Mindful Live is we talk, which we do every night, really and truly. We talk every night. But what we talk about is just what the chat brings up. We discuss the topics. You can feel free to dive inside and have an actual discussion with me here. Or ask a question, make a comment. I don't think any of those politicians put country first. That's regardless of ruling party, you get more. Why, regardless of ruling party, you get more of the same? Yeah, and it's. I mean, which people do you expect to put country before themselves? I see that the pandemic may be in the works for 2025. I've been seeing rumors of that and allegations it's a conspiracy theory. I don't know. I guess when it all comes to the fore, we would know. But that lockdown business and another pandemic business, they need to relax. They need to chill out there. I'm not on that. Good night, Neil Hamilton. Do you think this SOE makes sense? So, I was looking at an article, Sweet Douglas, and the police were talking about they're making good headway in the SOE because they have arrested X amount of people and the murder rate has dropped and they've seized 22 guns or something like that. But here's the thing. The point of the SOE wasn't to decrease the murder rate. The then Attorney General, which might be our future Prime Minister, and Minister of National Security actually highlighted that point. They said this is not about the murder rate itself. So saying that a decreased murder rate is evidence of a successful SOE is incorrect, because that wasn't the purpose of the SOE. The purpose of the SOE, I think we're at 5 right now in 9 days. The purpose of the SOE was to stop the reckless, bold gang warfare that was going to take place. Have they done that? I don't know. I haven't seen evidence of it yet. I've seen some articles talking about they have some of the gang leaders under house arrest. They only named the one scapegoat. Listen, we have to rename that guy from Tyson to Scapegoat. They named the one scapegoat. 5, yeah, 5. They named the one scapegoat as being under house arrest, and they said that there are other priority offenders that are under house arrest too. We don't know if that's true. We don't know how many of them that might be. So I've heard Michael Modesto, but that one Scapey on under house arrest. What is house arrest? Well, I guess he can't leave his apartment. With us, yes, the son killed his mother. I think the beating was last day. I'm not sure. I can't remember the exact details. The beating was before and she died subsequently. So why he under house? You're asking the wrong person. You're asking the wrong person. Yeah, listen, let's pull up that. I know it's Thursday, and Thursday isn't really about the articles, but let me see if I could get that up here so we could just, make it clear what is going on here. Police put, this is a Guardian article, police put suspected gang leaders under house arrest in SOE initiative. Police have placed some suspected gang members held during the ongoing state of emergency under house arrest as they continue to target those they have identified as priority offenders. ACP in charge of administration and operations Richard Smith said while he could not identify and give statistics about all of those confined to their homes, one man, one scapegoat, who was once charged with being a gang leader, is also now under house arrest. Calvin Tyson Lee, who lives at Clifton Hill Towers, St. Paul Street, East Fort of Spain. It's like they pulled the man whole government ID and put it there. Was arrested on December 30th, moments after the SOE was announced, and was released 8 days later. During his time in custody, he was detained at the Belmont police station and was not questioned up to his release. He was not questioned. Umar says the man of the police guard say that. Well, no, that could be the next worry. Or not worry. Wonder. Is it that he is under house arrest, as in some sort of punishment? Or is it that they're trying to ensure there's no retaliation in his direction that will kick things off at another level? Is it that? Because I could understand if the police are possibly protecting an alleged gang leader. It would sound much better for the police to say, well, we are monitoring him as he's under house arrest, instead of saying we are giving him private police protection. I don't know. I'm wandering along with Umar's comments there. During his time in custody, he was not questioned. Smith, when asked about Lee's detention, said Mr. Lee was released. However, he is currently under, I would say, detention at his home through orders that were issued by the Commissioner of Police under Section 4C of the SOE regulations. Smith added that of the 40-plus priority offenders who are allegedly affiliated with gang activities, others are under house arrest, but he could not give any further details. Interesting. Yes, that's what they said. They can detain him in his home under SOE regulations. So that seems like what they're doing. I wonder how many of the alleged leaders are also under the same thing. And I've said before, I do not know any inner workings of gangs. I do not know any inner workings of police. But watching and reading the news, something seems lopsided and strange in how these activities seem to be going on. I don't know. Maybe that's proper police technique, and it's an advanced, well-researched, what's the word? In evidence-driven and information-guided technique. I don't know, but Wagwan Dream Chaser. I don't know, but something seems like you hear a lot on one side. Appreciated Dream Chaser. It could seem so, Michael Modesto. And the thing is, if the guy that they pestered, what was his name? Oh gosh, the Canadian YouTuber that came and went into all the ghettos, well, not all, but some. That guy they pestered. If you look at the videos that he did, the allegation, right, Christmas list, the allegation from the alleged gangsters in some of those videos were that the government working with some of the gangs and fighting we down. Now, it's easy to say, and you might be right, to see that a lot of these guys are making excuses for wanting to live a life of criminality and get things the easier way than working hard for it. And some of that might be true, a lot of that might be true. But that doesn't negate the fact that it could also be true at the same time that those in authority are indeed playing foolish games in the criminal underworld. These games do not help the country. If criminals are criminals, then clean up criminals from a side. Don't attempt to use criminals as pawns in your game to acquire what you want to acquire. You're putting the entire country at risk if that is what you're doing. So, on the question of if the SOE has been successful, I am yet to see the success. That's how I would put it. I am yet to see the success. I mean, they have some time, and maybe it is quite possible that the walls are closing in, the nets are closing in, they're tightening slowly and making their way into where they have to go. So it's not impossible that it could look like it's not super successful yet, but coming down later on, you see that, oh, that's what they were doing all along. That's a possibility, but I'm saying I don't see it. A lot of us yet to see the success, and we need to say more as a collective. I mean, what are we going to say as a collective about the success or lack thereof there? I think many people are saying that, but that's part of the problem with an SOE in the first place. Your rights aren't the same in an SOE, and there's a proposal, and all they need is a simple majority after these first 15 days. All they need is a simple majority to extend it for 3 months. And as I said at the jump of this SOE, it's quite possible, because I saw the DCP who got away from the allegations of reckless driving. I saw she was saying that they are not at war with the country, they are not at war with the citizens, and if police are indeed running things above board with the added powers, it could be an easy, comfortable thing. But with 3 months, there's a lot of time for abuse. Nathan, do you trust the police? No. No, I do not. A lot of room for abuse in 3 months. I read an article last night. The police raided a man's home 4:30 a.m. The man had a dog in his yard. The dog obviously rushed people that jumped into the yard at 4:30 a.m. They shot and killed the man's dog and then found nothing in the man's home. Like, okay, if you find illegal substances in the man's home, I could excuse the killing of the dog. The dog was an accessory to a crime in a sense. Not really, but in a sense. But for you to kill the dog and then the man be innocent, or at least innocent in terms of what you found, I think somebody should pay the consequence for that. How you mean? So you mean police could just at random kill my dog? At random with no consequence? My property has no value? They could just come and destroy my property, kill my animals, and drive off normal? That's some insane stuff. That's some insane stuff. That sounds like the origin story for a supervillain. I mean, it is the origin story for John Wick. And I know many people out there understand John Wick and why he did what he did quite well. So, yeah. That man whose dog you killed and found nothing illegal, what's his view of police going to be for the rest of his life? And our wonderful men and women, boys and girls in the gray uniform up and down the country do things like this regularly. Ruin the trust and relationship they have with individuals over and over, not understanding these individuals make up the country. All the citizens are made up of individuals. The same citizens you keep begging for trust and to work with us. But you keep betraying the individuals in many successive interactions. So how do you expect the trust to build? This place is corrupt. Why we not SOEing white collar crime? Because really and truly you don't need an SOE for that. And that's part of the problem with this whole thing. What happened to the suggestion boxes? I don't know. That's part of the problem with the whole thing. You didn't need an SOE even for the violent crime that we have right now. I am not sure how an SOE is going to solve the problems we have in Trinidad. What's the SOE going to do differently? There's an SOE. They held the man that they say is at the center of it. They had to let him go, and now they could only guard him from a distance while he home. What can the SOE do to accomplish the security goals of this country? I'm not sure. I don't see what the SOE is going to do. Ronnie, You aiming to say whatever you had to say last night? You jumping in? Any questions or comments on the inside in the chat? What's up? What's up?
I tried to full clothes from since Christmas.
You're trying to what?
Yeah, full clothes.
Babylon system thing. Just roll that up and throw it in a drawer, man.
I wish I had no space. But anyway, good night everybody. Or they hear me good, right?
Yeah, you're real good.
Okay. The only thing I was talking about last night that I didn't finish talking about was the spending of money on other things. And I say we shouldn't be spending money on anything until we can get crime down. Because what is the point? What the purpose? You spending money educating people. When you get your education, you get a job, and everybody keep breaking in place, or causing you, or probably what was the big thing last year that was doing extorting you? You've done a business and they're extorting you, so you're gonna flee the country. So what's the point? You're spending all this money to develop the country, and then everybody had to leave. So that's why you just spend all the money on making the country safe. Because I think I'd rather mature and be guns
Than dead.
Which they will not be.
Than dead.
Well, then I have to leave because my children would not be dead. They're gonna be at prison or somewhere else.
There'll be a former trainee. I fully agree with you, and that's something I've said a while ago. I remember talking to some officers about that, and the officers were not in agreement, obviously. But to me, they are priority lists, and I think this comes from an understanding of what government is for. What is the purpose of the state? What is the purpose of those people up there in the positions of leadership in a country? What is their job? What is their duty? What is their primary duty? Their primary duty is not educating your child. Their primary duty is not digging a drain in from front of your yard. Their primary duty is not cutting the grass. Those aren't their primary duty. Their primary duties aren't even healthcare. Their primary duty isn't giving your child a vaccine when they're 3 months. That's not their primary duties. It's keeping us safe. Ensuring that people do not infringe on the rights of other people. That's your primary duty. Primary. And if you are not doing that duty, I think you could forget all of the rest and focus on that until you have that done real good. Then we could expand to the rest.
Let's have more things than just policing that they need to work on. Oh, like that means a lot of work. If it means hiring more judges or whatever, or making specific courts for specific crimes or whatever, so they could kind of clear out the jails too, or even building bigger jails, building more jails. They might need to learn, but they need to do something. We can't just have people running around attacking the country. And then we just very passive. We're very passive, and I don't have a problem with being passive because it's like, which is why I don't have a problem with when police don't really do their job, because you know, you take it as like when some of them don't have a choice. You join the service, which to me was stupid. You join the service thinking, you know, I'm gonna make a difference, but you have to be an idiot to think you will not join any police service and make a difference. If you know the police service corrupt, what you join the police service to do? Not be corrupt too? Because if you're not being corrupt, you're going to be dead, or you're going to have a very hard life. And nobody don't want to work nowhere without having a very hard life.
Correct.
So you're going to conform, or you're going to die. So, come on. But if you invest into particular areas and start tweaking and Because it's like, oh my God, the youth and them have nothing, they have nothing to do, and then you're giving them money. Oh, go hide and go must and go CCC and go youth camp and this and that and the third and everything. And the classes on them, and just have a bunch of people going to the class, collecting a stipend, wasting time. None of them even going and use the trade. They have too much opportunities when you look at other Caribbean, and I hate to hear the opportunity thing because plenty of the Caribbean islands, they do have opportunities like Trinidad and Tobago. They don't. They can't even write a CXC exam. They've had about 3-4 jobs before they could write a CXC exam. And what they're writing 5, 10, 15 subjects for free. And all they still come in, or they have, well, we had degrees for free. We still have degrees at level facet price, which is much more than much less than other places, right? And yet we still compare, oh well, it's not enough and we need more opportunities for the youth. No, they're lazy. They are lazy, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. They're looking for fast money at minimum effort, and there's nothing nobody can do about it except getting them wrap up and put them in a cell. Hurry it up.
Cherry says, good evening to all. Well, you could pay the police more money so they will do a better job. Let me start off saying, I have said long ago, increase the police money, increase their expectations and qualifications. I have no problem with that. However, the idea that just more money would automatically mean they do a better job, I don't agree with that by any means. But I do agree you should increase the incentive for the police while increasing the demands on them, so that you would get a better cohort of people who are okay with higher expectations, but people who are looking for better remuneration also. And I think that's what should happen there. That's that. But as Ronnie was saying, quite correctly, is something that I regularly highlight. As much as I point out that the police are indeed doing some real rubbish and they aren't doing as good as they could, they are just a part of the system. They aren't the entire thing. After they arrest somebody, and charge them, there's still prosecution that has to go on through the courts. That's not really up to the police. I mean, you could complain about if the police are bad at gathering the evidence and investigating and all of that, but the judiciary is the judiciary, and our judiciary takes 19 years plus to finish some of those cases. Sherry says, fix the health system, doctor and nurses. What does that even mean? You want to fix it? Put it private. Let the government stop paying for all of that. Don't pay for that. Forget that ministry. Focus on the Ministry of National Security. Let's get good police. The people will figure out how to get the help, or they will eat better and live longer. Are you saying the government doesn't want to help fix the situation?
The government on a general thought might be happy if it can be rectified, but they're not putting no special effort into that, and that individual as a minister, he really care about that really and truly. That just if they work and when he does work for the day, that is he going home. Next morning he wake up, make I eat 9 hours, if so much. I really care about that because everybody done rich and comfortable.
I agree. I say that I think I said it before. I think I like people say that the government, like, they're wicked and they want people. I don't actually think so. I think most politicians, most of the government, if they could have waved a wand and magically make it that there's no crime, they would love that. But the thing is, it's a have your cake and eat it kind of scenario. they also want the benefits of the activities that they engage in or turn a blind eye to, but those activities allow for the festering of crime. So they want certain things that benefit them, the certain things cause crime, and they're not willing to divorce themselves from that. So some of what you're talking about there, Ronnie, with there being too much help, to a large extent, the too much help is part of the reason we are having a problem with the gangs, you know. Many of these gangs are not financed just by drug blocks, you know. They are financed by government contracts and government positions. As I've highlighted before, members allegedly of these gangs are in senior positions in government institutions.
Allegedly, remember where Berkey was? In that white, in that yellow shirt that wasn't talking about?
Listen, Berkey always said that he's a businessman. Those are allegations you're talking about here.
He was. He was also a gangster. To be real,
I don't know that for sure.
I don't know the man was a gangster, you know. All,
I don't know that.
all I know is Papa Burks was the community leader in Sealats.
but according to the law, he was never convicted of an offense, so he was not a criminal.
No, he was a businessman.
In the streets, we know, and I will told the boss.
Well, I know from them streets.
Right? But he was also a businessman.
Well, almost all of them are. Almost all of them are. And that's the point I'm making. Where the business side of a lot of those organizations are being facilitated by crime, by the government. What business he had? Listen, those guys have construction companies. Almost all of them have construction companies and security companies. You see those two? Construction, security, car rental, buy and sell.
Yep.
Almost all of them have those businesses. Buy and sell, rental, construction and security. Businesses.
The government is jumping them.
Yeah, of course they're paying taxes. And they're telling you that when you pass and you see the mansion inside the ghetto, the mansion was built by good up above ground business. Yes, Christian, it just so happens that those businesses run cash, but that's just a coinky dink. What a convenient coincidence that those businesses just so happen to use large sums of cash that aren't very traceable. And if some cash slips in from other sources, who is to know? But that's just a coincidence. Same as the fishermen, yes. Remember the guy that bought the Range Rover cash? He was a fisherman.
What's that? Now, when I see that fisherman, I was like, what he was fishing for?
Goldfish!
Hey, hello. That's some filthy fishermen out here.
I agree. I agree.
Fisherman, but that what that man was. You see the chain around his neck? What happened to that?
The fishers weigh kilos.
Definitely some fine fish.
Oh gosh. Those fish were just, prime fish. He knew where to catch all the best fish, and he knew who to sell the best fish to. The guy, as far as I know, was never convicted of anything. The police killed the guy, and even that police killing had a lot of suspicion over it. But the police killed the guy, and he was never found guilty of anything. As far as I know, he was a fisherman.
Listen to what I'm saying, right? If I believe if a government really want to have an impact on the crime situation, they would do what they could with it.
I think so too. I think Trinidad because of our position, like, yes, it would get dangerous for individuals. But if a government decides they want to tackle this, they will get all of those men down. I am 100% certain if a government wants to, they could figure out some ways that those guys dealt in US dollars. And here's the problem. Anytime you deal in US dollars, US law enforcement has jurisdiction. So it is possible, and that happens in some countries. That's what the South Americans often do. When the cartel leaders get a little too big for our boots, America, he dealing in US dollars. And
as long as you don't do any banking transaction that has to pass through a US bank, they wouldn't mess with you. As long as you money pass through a US bank, then
that's why I'm saying if the government, from what you were saying, the government, it's not a matter of just every day how it happens. It's not that. If the government decides that they really want this to go that way, it's not hard for them to pull on those cords and get someone to this and get someone, because there is listen, you all read the news. There was a release of a very famous guy who is a music producer out, I think, is it US Virgin Islands? He is the head of the, what's their label called again? The label that all the 6 singers sing under. West, what is it? West something. And he's the head of that label, and he was just released. West Bank, right? You know thing, Michael Modesto, man. And he was just released. There are allegations of multinational dealing. There was an artist from Trinidad who had an attempt on his life in another island. Listen, from the time you cross borders like that, you could get things really drastic to be done. But it's if you want it to happen like that. And there would be a political price to pay. Almost surely. Especially if the bigger guy, the guy who might be more entrenched and has been doing this for a long time, if he has been doing this for a long time, he has information. And if he looks like he is going to go down, I am almost sure people like that won't go down alone. Krish is open till all kind of 11 and thing, and once sales going, they may be open. The local KFC. Michael Modesto, me too. Very interesting stuff. Extremely interesting. And when you follow it, you recognize that a lot of these things aren't random. They aren't coincidences. They have large players. They are well planned. They are well organized. And they are money-making machines. So, I don't know this, eh? The man. What's the oh gosh, I forget the name. One of the names is main Subrake. But the man is a music producer. It just so happens that they have a lot of money coming in from the music that they make. They make a lot of money. And they have many speedboats and stuff in that US Virgin Island location. You know, it's a prime shipping transshipment location for all kind of merchandise. So, you know, they make a lot of money there, and then they have allies in the Caribbean, so they join in business relationships up and down the islands. But all that to say, basically, if the government really was interested, instead of going and joining with Mexico to attempt to sue the United States because Smith & Wesson making guns and the guns reaching to Trinidad, like that's going to do something. That's our government's plan. Dr. Rowley, remember, he come jumping up talking about, well, we winning the law. What you expect to happen? Why behave yourself now, man? Suing the gun manufacturers. That's our technique. Instead of coming together with the CARICOM countries, understanding that there obviously is something going on along these islands, let's work together. Maybe, how about this? Maybe we could create an Interpol for CARICOM. Maybe this could be the catalyst to... What? maybe this could be the catalyst to do just that, where we have a security service, so we don't have Trini police kidnapping people from Barbados. We could have a unified security something throughout the Caribbean and CARICOM. And the thing is, obviously there's room for that to just be games they're playing. They make the organization, people get good money, and nothing is done. But if they're serious, that's something that would make catching these guys a lot easier. That's why many people are saying the SOE isn't necessary to catch these men if that's what you're interested in doing.
They don't even want to commit to the CCG. They don't want to finance the CCG. They don't want to commit to it. You think they would commit to our regional?
Of course not. Of course they don't want to. Of course they won't. Listen, a lot of these things are so simple. If we only had that how you make your money law that Dr. Rowley since 2015 has been touting, and up till now 10 years later it can't somehow come into function really and truly. They explain your wealth. The only thing it hampers really and truly is if you want to open a bank account, you're going to get harassed. But listen, these guys in and around Trinidad, you want to know how I know they didn't? If you live in a hotspot, those of us in Trinidad, the many hotspot locations, many of these fellas, like some of those bigger ones, the allegations against the businessman Berkey, but many of those other fellas don't even pretend to have another business, you know. There are men living in mansions that wake up on a morning, go downstairs, sell whole day, and live in the house, never working a job, never even open, you know, sometimes some people open a little fruit shed to make it look like, you know, they're selling 2 dry banana. Not even a fruit shed. They sell nothing, they open nothing, they don't have a store, they don't have a job, but they're driving 5 different vehicles and their house is being improved every year. That's not a hard thing to catch. They don't want to.
This thing don't happen in our vacuum, right? In order for data black record to take place, especially in narcotics, people getting paid.
Yeah, of course.
People are getting paid. Law enforcement, politicians are getting their cuts.
Mm-hmm.
So when you prevent certain laws and pressuring these people, somebody pocket could have get in. Later.
Yeah. Huh?
I was asking who my feels finish.
Yeah.
Right, one question I have for you, Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, or anybody who have a good memory, you get? First thing is, I'm just say, if we as a country were to cut crime, our economy will fall down. Just say. But do you remember when they had the whole exchange of the money when we went over to the polymer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember central bank saying how much money was missing?
Mm-hmm.
As in, did not come back in?
Yes. What if I remember the figure? No, I don't remember the figure, but I remember it was a very large figure.
It was a huge number of money that did not come back in, which is why now when people say, oh good, I feel like the economy is so stifled and I don't understand what is going on, it's because how much millions of dollars did not come back into circulation. So of course the economy is in a mess because they can't release it from central bank, but nobody can get it. But it is there, but we just can't get it.
Explain it. If I have 5 million cash, I don't have a business.
5 million cash.
I don't have an accountant to show I get it. How am I gonna change this money unless I know somebody who willing to do it for me for a cut?
Yes, correct. But do you think why do you have $5 million cash in your house?
Because things moving across the Atlantic.
Right. What are you talking about? We're talking about people who are operating within the law here. We're not talking about the
Maybe I did a lot of contracting off the books. That's possible.
And then you have to pay your taxes if you bring it in. If
Well,
you can prove.
exactly, and I didn't want to pay taxes, so it's a tax evasion scheme, not a criminal drug scheme.
Right, well, okay, fair enough, but you could have, when you have taken the chance to say, like, here's what's going on, it's really tax I was trying to evade, or tax. You too?
Here's what I would do. This is Trinidad and Tobago. Especially if I have enough money where that's not all my money, it's just some that you trying to seize. I'm going to play that through the courts. Yes, Dream Chaser, I saw that several million found in Tacarigua. Was it Huggins Street? Million TT and some, was it 100,000 US or some thousands US? Well, you all didn't see Pre's fix up now, nah? This is Trinidad and Tobago. I'm going to let that go through the courts. The chances are extremely high that either one, a police made a mistake or did some kind of weirdness in the whole process that is going to infringe on it. If I have millions of cash, I could hire a lawyer to figure out where they went wrong. Or two, a police may take a cut of the cash to ensure they do something wrong in the process. I shouldn't have to expand. And make sure my case... Those things happen all the time, you know. A cut pass for the police, and the police are the only witnesses in the case. The police are the ones doing the investigation. And all the police have to do is mix up something in the investigation, and all that back and I'll fizzle out. Because court cases, in order for a court case to work, it has to... Everything basically has to be done in a certain order, above board, a certain way. Especially if somebody has the money to look at every single line of details in the court case. Yeah, look for Jack Warner. Eventually, I think by now he isn't really wanted by the US anymore. If you have enough money to continue. That's how some of those things go. So I would have just continued fighting. I wonder what happened to the pastor with the 30 million.
Online collection?
Y'all don't remember that?
Was gifts and stuff from the church.
I remember that. But online collection money?
And religious religious institutions don't pay taxes. So
That's correct.
there were no taxes to pay anyhow, and you know, the Lord bless them, they brought it in cash and we just kept it there. We never even checked it to know for sure. Oh, it's 30 million. You know, I never even knew that. I don't know. The case, and there are lots of stories that as someone who reads the news basically every day, trying to read nearly all the articles I see, there are many stories like that you notice. A case comes up and pops up very interesting, and you hear nothing afterwards.
Money lender man give a key money and what they say he was to get it back.
No, they say he could have gone to court to get it back. So he is able to go to court to get it back.
Most of these things, I think, most of them, if you have the money to follow it down in court, you'd win. There are many tickets you could get where you would even be in the wrong, and if you are bad mind and willing to spend the money to fight it down, you would win.
Yeah, the police not coming.
Not just the police not coming. Can the police give a good explanation when they do come? Well, Michael Modesto, we don't know, and we may never know.
If you could find somebody guilty on supposing that you go to jail.
Yep.
Because how are you able, as I need to know your congregation size, and this is the thing, right? If I have $1 million just resting on my house, I have no way accounting for it, right? What would I do? Would I just go and give it to that church? Because I don't know. I would because it would go to the train after. But more than likely, I would give it to a church for them to change it tell them, man, here, what, take that 250 and give you back 750,000 and we'll call that square.
Well, here's the thing. At church, or you mean like for them to have changed it when the money was changing? Well, yeah. No doubt, a lot of that happened. A lot of businesses, well, hardwares, lots of hardwares. What's the max amount of cash you can have home? I don't think there is a max amount that you can have that's like legal like that, but you have to be able to explain it. That's why you're supposed to have receipts and stuff. You know, even if the police come into your home and you have a whole heaping load of coconuts, if you don't have a farmer's badge, you could get yourself in trouble. They would want to see the receipt. Where's your receipt for all of these coconuts? So it's about proving where you got it. That's kind of the main thing. Not about the amount in and of itself, but how did you get it? What's the proof that this is yours?
I mean, listen, all the police will be too on the spot and clicking when them thing happen because I mean, in the early days in my contracts, the floss and you get paid. They put up on me with what at 10, 11,000 cash in my pocket, rub me down, push me out of my pocket down, put all the water money. Where you get this from? Why is our contractor buy up more money than? You know that man let me go my way my money. He drove me away. He just get me out. He give me back my money and let me go my way.
But police not supposed to take money, which is why I found it so strange. Police is not supposed to take money.
They could seize it. They could carry it to the station.
For money.
I believe they do.
They could, yeah.
I believe they do.
Carry it to the station.
As evidence. They seize it as evidence in a case.
You know, come and prove where you get this money, how you get this money. Yeah? You gotta prove how you get your money.
And the thing is though, like something like that with 10, 11, I could see why a police might actually believe that because that's actually believable. But bro, if you have $1 million plus inside your house, the truth is, and to be fair to the police, the truth is, generally speaking, the kind of people that would have millions of cash in their house would be the people that you would obviously or could obviously explain how that happens.
It depends on the police and me too in that scenario. I mean, that million cash, you be the wrong crew. You be the wrong crew with that million cash.
But if you have it above board, it usually isn't a hard thing to explain. And yeah, they could attempt to seize it still, but you explain it and you get it back. Generally speaking, once they don't steal it. And I'm not saying that police don't steal because they do steal.
If they do steal, you get to sue and get it back.
Yes, you do. You don't dream for... You're better to sue and get money than try to get them jailed. Because the guy in the East... Was it a Chinese person that the Gandhi police were shaking down? And all that just disappeared because nobody willing to testify. They say they're reopening the case, we'll see.
I think down to jury and all they could seize and tell you, well, bring your receipts and things. They could do it, they just don't.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah, I believe so. But in that realm, in that light, sometimes some people just laugh at the gangsters and stuff when they're rocking all their massive jewelry and stuff. To some extent, jewelry is an effective laundering technique.
Yeah.
To some extent. If I can put on my neck 3 million in jewelry, jump on an airplane and fly out. Yeah, you understand? No, they generally don't. They generally don't. It's your personal jewelry you're wearing. And that's sometimes the usefulness of this. So if I have a $500,000 chain, I could pass around payment for massive merchandise very easily. You understand? And sometimes, you laughing at them, watch them wasting the money and go in than they can explain. That's just the reality. And there's in than they can explain. That's just the reality. And there's nothing they could do to undo that. They could try their best to hide it. They could get the best accountants. But the reality is more money is coming in than they can explain. Reality.
Why did they pass this anti-gang law? I always wonder, why did they pass this anti-gang law instead of fashioning a law similar to the federal RICO laws in the US?
They did that's the explain your wealth law that they were I believe it did pass, as someone said, but I don't know what is going on. The unexplained wealth ordinance or something like that they were supposed to pass. I think it passed in the first PNM administration. I don't know what happened to it since then, because I don't hear anybody being brought up with something to explain their wealth. And I think there are lots of people that would not be able to explain their wealth in Trinidad and Tobago. Lots of people.
What I'm referring to later is they have something that they put in place, and that was for the mob in particular, right? These RICO laws.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, if they could say, you see the 10 of me here, all levels of crew them always together.
Yeah.
They were categorized as a criminal organization. And the offenses tie everybody together, and whoever they put
Yeah. Racketeering.
Everybody, racketeering, all them kind of thing going in one.
I was trying to remember what the RICO means. Yeah. I know the RICO. That was Giuliani who pioneered that.
So I was wondering, why didn't they put something like that in place?
Uma, some politicians might get fully in the RICO too. Yeah.
Probably next 20 years is when they'll be trying the case.
The thing with the RICO taking down not one person alone. The RICO don't ever take down one person alone.
And the idea of how they would do the RICO case, if they do it properly, is they're accumulating all the evidence before they even charge you. So when they grab you, oftentimes with those kind of cases, when they grab you, they're looking for no bail. They're looking from like what they're doing with Diddy. They're only grabbing you when they have enough that you're never coming out again.
But that's true. But they're still talking about their YSL. But they still don't understand that case was not a federal RICO. That was a state RICO. The feds don't lose.
Yeah, true.
Feds conviction rate is 99%.
That is insane. You know what I mean? I mean, if you hear the feds say we come in, it's best you disappear and done.
Yeah, the feds don't lose.
99. What you mean 99%, dog?
Yeah, when them come fish because they don't know the DNA.
They have they tick every box, they cross every T, every single I is dotted. By the time they reach, your ticket book. And to me that makes sense. Especially if you're dealing with high profile cases like RICO style cases. You're looking to take down everybody at the same time and flush it out in a one go. It doesn't make sense you're trying to bring that to drag it along. It won't work. Especially something like RICO where there might be a wide range of witnesses and stuff. Those witnesses, if you try to continue this thing ongoing and allow some of the accused to be released, and those witnesses would go missing real quick. So they're looking to wrap all of that up quick. But I don't know why they didn't go that direction. If they probably didn't want to risk the Port of Spain South MPs and them into getting themselves wrapped up. Because some of those MPs in some of those regions, I am certain, if a RICO case was called, would be a co-conspirator.
And that is why I said earlier, the will to deal with crime is not there. It's not there. Because we can be so aligned with the United States and partner with the United States, yet still we won't
The good things. Like, oh gosh, let me take some of the good things they have now, man. Oh gosh.
Exactly.
Michael Modesto says the MPs in Debe also. And I've heard some people say the MPs in Central too. So there are MPs with allegations of RICO-like behavior all around the country. So is it any surprise that they don't pass such a law?
So they're spinning top in mud. They have no political will to deal with the situation.
You see, the benefit of a country like the United States, where it's so large, is that you could have a federal government that doesn't care for the corruption in your little small town. Like, not saying their federal government isn't corrupt. Yes, of course there's corruption. There are people taking bribes from China and Ukraine and that kind of level. They're on the federal government level of corruption is on the bombing countries and killing people kind of level. But when you're talking about passing a couple dollars behind a government building in some back town somewhere, they don't care. So you have a body who is willing to be above the fray and tackle it on a level head. We don't have that. We really don't.
And that is what we need to deal with the situation.
And that's why I said, if it were possible, a CARICOM security organization that's bigger than us. That's why I said, I've said this before, I like the idea of Gibbs and Iwatsky. I think that's what our police service does need. Bring in some foreigners to run it and give them maximum protection, because I think they will be targeted real quick if they're doing it right.
Right. So you look at the fact that they had to leave shows that even the politician, when you go to the Minister of National Security, was not giving them the protection that they needed.
Mm-hmm.
And further, these are the men in charge. These are the men running things. Do what them see.
And you know, if you think about when that happened, that 2010 period, there, I think, was a reasonable possibility of stemming the heyday of the gangs that we're facing now. We could have, I mean, that wouldn't have been nipping it in the bud because it was already flowering, but it would have been, I think we would have been able to catch it much earlier than we are now. And what a difference that may have made. No, they don't.
Because they're afraid it will come back home to them.
Correct. I think so too. I think so too.
I don't think it would even matter. It doesn't matter because we getting it on both sides at this point. In a terrible manner. Every hole is full.
Chickens coming home to roost. They don't want no chickens coming home to roost.
But
as we're talking about CARICOM, what is the purpose of CARICOM right now? What has CARICOM done in the last few years? What have they done since inception?
trade, we have trade, we have the ability to have the Jamaican security officers all about in the country. I mean no offense, but there are lots of Jamaican security officers in Trinidad and Tobago. Just look for bleach. Bro, my brothers in the Caribbean, Jamaicans, why all you like bleach so? You know, I recognize Jamaicans, not by their accent anymore, you know. And by the bleach.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, nearly any time you see somebody heavily bleached,
Listen.
and the thing is, some like, oh God, I understand colorism. Some of them already light brown. You're a little caramel. You so wanna be red. You willing to look like this weird little purple creature because you don't like your melanins. Oh God, none of them is look that your skin is start to look diseased. Anyway, that's what the CARICOM has allowed. Some of that kind of free movement.
I see somebody on this Trinidadian, Matty, advertising skin bleaching can you really see? Yeah, but.
Who is that? Matara?
What? Oh gosh.
Y'all see that what she say out of her mouth that she does be
Hey, hello. The names you only
what was said.
is how matter of factly you Uma out here saying somebody on this app. All nice and coy. Ready like who? Matara.
No, because listen, girlies, don't do it. It's not healthy and it don't look good.
I
And this is like no, like dark skinned people, please understand your privilege. You can have as much blemishes on your face. It doesn't look as bad as if it was red.
bro.
I'm telling you.
But the thing is, the bleaching cream don't really make you red.
I blame Cartel, yes.
Yeah, I blame Cartel. But Cartel come out of prison and it look like he allow himself a little browning.
He probably didn't get in jail. He probably didn't have no soap in the jail.
But cake soup, that not no cake soup, that is bleaching cream. Heavy poison on your skin.
But you know, it's only pill. It's only one to take that does help with the knuckles and the joints and thing. Yeah.
What I do in your organs?
Well,
Bro.
why not? I don't even want to know.
Like
I
I could never be bothered by brown so much, bro. I could never. But yes, I do believe that a lot of that blame should fall on Cartel. Yes. Of course it was before Cartel, but I'm talking about the Jamaican trend in particular.
He make it prevalent.
Yeah. And made it cool. While a lot of people would have, if they were bleaching, they're trying to do it kind of on the down low, and you know, people know you do it. But he made it popular and cool and out there.
Remember, Pennywise is always selling Vico.
Pennywise what?
Always
Selling Vico.
Well, the thing is, as I was pounding the Jamaicans, there's an Indo factor to the bleaching cream too.
Okay, thank you.
There's a strong Indo like, oh gosh, you all know me. I ain't afraid to say that. And I grew up in Central. I know there's a strong colorism in that Far East kind of culture. And there are many people that use blemish removers, and they use it to remove all the blemishes on all their skin. So that has been a thing within the Indian community a while now. And I was watching a video up until when was I watching that? Yesterday, a guy from India was explaining about the creation of that culture in the subcontinent and where it came from, and because of the integration of the different cultures in that one area, you found that kind of colorism being created to a large extent. And it's not really the caste system. It's not really the caste system because it didn't fully originate from Hinduism per se. If you the video I was watching yesterday, I am not a Hindu scholar. I was watching another guy, a Hindu scholar, speaking about that, and they were talking about early Hinduism where they revered a lot of dark skin gods. Dark skin, if you look at it back in the earlys, wasn't seen as a negative thing, but through the immigration and the synthesizing of different cultures in that area, and then ultimately with that heavy scoop of English colonialism at the end, splat, that secured all of that into that place. So yeah, Michael Jackson did have vitiligo. That's a fact. He did have vitiligo. I believe he may have used chemicals and the rest of his skin to even out all, but it's known and established that he did in fact have vitiligo. It's not like it was all just hating the color of his skin. Of course it's dangerous to the body. Of course if you're stripping away the melanin that your body is putting into your skin, like, how would it not be? How could it be anything but dangerous?
I didn't even like how my skin is when I come up on the sea, right? Yeah, I mean, 10, 15 days of sunlight and salt already were good for you. So, imagine when they reach old age and the effects of that.
Jeez.
Bleaching strip happen.
Good Vibe says some people just prefer light skin and some people prefer dark skin. I don't think it's just like that. No, I don't think it's a just like that. You know, it's just no. It's not just.
I never even wonder about bleaching how it look. I never even wonder how it cross my mind.
Because you very likely would not have grown up in a culture. That's why I say it's not a just thing, because it's a cultural phenomenon. There are some people who have no idea how dark they are. If you understand what I mean. Like in terms of a gradient, they don't know if they're darker than that one or lighter than that one and fairer than that. But there are some people, you find both of their skin tone is identical, but they could tell you who fairer in it. They know I lighter than she in it. Okay, I couldn't tell. Both of y'all look the same to me, but they could tell, and that shows you.
That is why they love the Españolas and them so much. That's why they love them so much. And
Yes, but I said this. That's why I say I'm not afraid to say these things. I'm not afraid to. I've said this before. There's a fact in Trinidad and Tobago, because of the nature of the Indo biases, the Venezuelan women are at the top of the list. Long hair, light skin. Hey. You saying so? You don't know that. Senorita mi amor. You don't know that. You don't know the love inside there. Don't judge the people love. Real love is real love. Right? Listen, nothing ain't wrong with that. Here now, to some extent, I feel I feel to smile sometimes. Like as I said, I'm a Centralian. You look around in Central and you see a dark. I like the anthropology of our race culture in Trinidad. It's some interesting stuff. You look around and you see a darker Indo guy, and you know, in the general, he may have struggled to find the ideal of what he was looking for. And you see him happily there with his senorita, bypassing all of the different judgments of the locals and getting ideally what he wants and building his little family. Like, bro, why I vex? Get through, homie. I hope what was the video somebody made a video a while back. Marisol Rajkumar.
That's definitely the names again.
Diego Rampasad. There's going to be a lot of the next generation sounding, you know, you hear the bilingual in the name. As a teacher, I might have to join back the public school service in the next decade or so just to hear the names.
well, the former Prime Minister did the cease-fashing money with the English. Remember, he wanted the nation to be bilingual.
Look at that. The man was a visionary. You see?
He was.
Jesus can. Hey, but I love Spanish. Spanish is a good language. You have to mind the whole family. Well, I mean. So, extended family. Yeah, what wrong with an extended? Once it's not the husband, because there have been reports of local men finding themselves partnered with people's wives and only finding out that they have people's wives afterwards. That's unfortunate. So just make sure that if you like a señorita, you make sure that she's single and has the correct papers to do the work here and whatever. And by all means, homie, get through.
I could say 15 years from now. Next 15 years, 16 years, we will have some mixed Spanish police officers.
Of course.
Mixed Spanish. Right? I get them at 20, they're going up in the politics too.
You sound very, very sad. Good vibe?
Like, what would that happen?
I'm talking about good vibe in the comments here.
Low good vibes, the man is happy. You're against happiness, Ronnie?
Well, it's not like he wasn't getting through before they come.
So if that is the case, then of course he should be. You see, that's why I said that's why I be happy when I see the men with the married and with the, because there are men who married to the Venezuelan woman. I'm not just talking about. You all know I say marry the people before you make your family. There are men properly well married and thing. Bro, get through.
I have seen when I met some brothers who married to a Venezuelan woman, and I talk about face bill everything. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Bro,
Mensch me.
I had a roommate back in university days. Is married, maybe easily closing in on 10 years. The man has been married a while. Why I should vex for the man? And if the case is that the locals were coasting on him, get through, bro. The man wanted a family. These locals looking for whatever tall red Rasta man or whatever the trope might be. They're looking for what they're looking for. He want a family. And Señorita wants a Trini family too. She's looking for stability. Match made in heaven and earth, Trinidad. By all means, people, we need new Trinis anyhow. Our birth rate is dropping. And listen, I have been in the maternity hospital for a while because there were complications and I was there a lot. There are many Venezuelan women there.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah, we know. But any court was telling them that they had to leave and anchor babies don't count.
Listen, this is Trinidad and Tobago. You all forget that a Venezuelan woman and her son won a case against the Coast Guard for how they kept her after they post out and she sneaked back in the country.
That's so stupid. Like, what do you
So
say?
what you talking about anchor baby say nothing. You think our Trini courts are going to allow immigration to just post back families? That's not going to happen. And then always bear in mind where and who our highest court is. Privy Council is in the liberal United Kingdom.
And then the thing is now, it's complicated because at the end of the day, no matter how you look at it, the children are citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Correct.
Which is why they call them anchors.
Well, I mean, we just do it too. Let me don't play no games, you know. We just
Who
do
does
it for
what do we?
Trinidadians, West Indians, Caribbean people. Let's do it too. Right? So I can't really hold that against them. I can't hold that against them. I can't do that.
I don't know nothing.
Listen, I have a little brother. I have a brother is a Canadian. I have a brother is a Brazilian. I have a sister from Uruguay.
So we're saying that your father is all them nationalities now? Or your mother now? Because that don't make sense. So when she just make sure on right people.
Would be real like this is do it.
But they didn't do it for citizenship, did they?
What you mean? What you mean?
So asking if your father or mother is all them nationalities. Well, I don't know what they would call a citizenry.
So I can't listen. Immigration wise, I can't really hold somebody making a child in a country against them. They don't in the
don't hold that against anybody. I not vexed with anybody for doing that. Like, I would be vexed.
But if they do put them out the country, I won't be upset at that either.
Here's the thing. As I tell people, marry the people and make your children. If you just make a child and you're a single mother in the country, well, but if you're telling me that this woman is married to a Trini and has Trini children, there's no way it sounds reasonable to just randomly post them back. That doesn't make sense.
Marriages, you'll get citizenship through the marriage.
You'll get, before citizenship, they will for certainly get residency. So,
If you're deporting an immigrant who has children who are citizens, what are you going to do with the children? If it is known that you're sending the immigrant back to an undesirable situation or a nation that they couldn't legally claim refugee status from, are you going to now send the child who's a citizen of your nation?
I am almost certain doing that may contravene some internationally recognized treaties. But the way I think that would be done, as I said, if you are a single parent, as in you and the person are not official, then either way the child was basically under who has the what right? Who is holding the child? The person, it's one parent minding the child anyway, because it's not like you and the other parent were together. So if you're going back, you can go with the children, or the children can stay with the parent here. Either way, they were with the one parent alone anyway. So it's not like that is making a significant difference on who the child gets to spend time with. Because either way, you were not together as a couple. So to me, if you want to make an anchor baby to stay as an anchor, you better hold on to the anchor daddy too. Because the anchor daddy is more important than the anchor baby in that context to me. Like, a baby is not what would hold you here, because you could go with, especially if you are the mother, you could go with your baby. Or the baby could stay with their daddy.
I don't think anybody will get deported from Trinidad back to Venezuela, go and stay in Venezuela. They're coming right back over.
Or going somewhere else. But yes.
They could go somewhere.
But yes, you're right, Umar. They are. Because that we don't have to wonder about that. That is what is happening right now. We are deporting people and they are coming back all the time. Constantly, that's the case. So,
Trash. Why is the Coast Guard allowing them in? Trash.
Yo, some coming in on legal ports of entry, some are coming in legally.
and I mean, if we were able to seal our borders, Trinidad would have been a very perfect place. So it's obvious we can't seal our borders. That's why the Coast Guard are allowing them in. It's obvious. So,
Why Sandy Camps was right. They're not doomed.
I come on vessels on multiple occasions and never seen the Coast Guard.
I have seen the Coast Guard when I was out there. One sighting. Sometime we were out on Shakari, fishing overnight, and a Coast Guard vessel pulled up on us and asked us what we doing and all of that, and they went their way. That's the only time. Only time. And I've been out there a few times well, and usually nothing.
I think that's the police patrol more than the Coast Guard material.
Coast Guard out there to get woman and dress up online and buy Elantra. Alright, people. That's all I have for now. Let's hear the closing if there's anything to say from Ronnie and Umar.
I say everybody. Get rid of all them senior citizens who say is taking up space in the parliament. Get some young people, some fresh people. The senior citizens can impart their advice and their knowledge if we ask them face. That's no problem. But we need to get these old people out of parliament running the country. We need
Funny you should say that. Do you not see what is going on? What is going on? Yeah, I'm coming to a whole youth slate, you know. Almost everybody going to be young. Oh my god, that was funny. That was ironic. But yeah, everybody's gonna be young in the election coming up. Yeah.
Well, they need to do something different. They need to do something.
That's the thing about it, right? What is really different is more of the same. So, you all enjoy your night. And Mr. What's his name? Good Vibes. Who loving off the Bennies and them. Good luck. Just marry the people. And I have a problem, you know. I'm not bitter about the Venezuelan woman.
You sure?
My problem is, my problem is I don't like to see when they being taken advantage
Me too.
of.
Correct.
So people like Good Vibes is always many wrong way when they say, I really like them Venezuelan women. You know, like, oh, since they come here, it's get through. Yeah, it's get through because they don't have a choice. And some people who don't have choices.
Well, not necessarily could get through because they are more willing and more receptive and more feminine and more decent.
More desperate. They are more desperate.
Well, desperation sometimes allows proper human behavior to take place. So maybe that's the problem. These Trini women weren't at the right desperation level. And that's why our population is dying out. Maybe the solution might be to the south. I don't have to worry. I find my Trini and we will populate. All right, people. It was nice. It was nice. Enjoy. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. This has been the Mindful Life. I'll be here again tomorrow for the next session. Until then, people, hold on. Stay well, stay good, stay inside, outside. They're a little sketchy. Marry somebody, child, make some babies. We need new Trinis. We need new Trinis. So, marry the people and make some. Don't just go and look for. If you want a Venezuelan young lady, let me don't say Venice because that seems like a slur these days. So, if you're looking for a Venezuelan young lady, go marry the lady and make a happy family out of her. By all means, I'm all for the.
Before you go to Marxism, you're taking the influence and fear, right?
Yes,
Right.
I did.
Right.
Isaac.
Yes, that's it, Ronnie. All right, latest people.